Welcome to the August tour, and lots to show you. Tomato plants and all the herbs in the container garden at the top of the patio in the sunny area, and then the rest of the garden where we've got lots more going on, including fruit trees and a forest garden at the end. So join me as we do the tour. I'm going to show you the herb garden at the top in the patio first. Down here we've got bit of a shady area where I keep a lot of my cuttings, and I've got some blackcurrant and some rosemary cuttings there. And if we move up here, this is the right hand side of the sort of the perennial herb container garden, but I've also got lots of other things in there. Here we've got some chamomile that I've been harvesting, and that's looking pretty good, along with some rosemary next to it. And then something that's been doing very well at the moment is this lettuce down here. Lots of herbs all the way along, and then across there, and I've got some old sash windows that I want to make a greenhouse with. I've really struggled with chilies this year, and I think I do in general, and from speaking to someone who grows them a lot, they say that they're very difficult to grow outdoors. Keep them indoors, so hopefully that greenhouse will help. But we do have one chili plant here that's been doing the best, and it does have some flowers and some chilies just starting to grow. But we are in mid-August, so I don't know if I'll get any out of that. In the corner we've got some amazing looking tomatoes, and I'll just do you a close-up shot of some of them. We've got two different species. We've got some big beef tomatoes and some smaller plum tomatoes. And they're looking pretty big. In fact, there's a really big one in there, if you can see it. So pretty happy with the tomato situation this year, and I did start them very early, and made great care to not put them out too early. Got a nasturtium flower there. And actually, speaking of nasturtiums, if we're going close on this one has got full of seeds, and I'll collect them right at the end of the summer. Probably end of August, early September, while it's still sunny, and that will give me a whole ton of seeds to plant for next year. And I just dot them around the garden, and they're great for peppery salad leaves, and you can use the flowers to eat as well. Some of the herbs haven't done so well. This is lemon thyme. You can see it's quite bare on the ends, although that is where it's flowered, but it's been really eaten inside. Normally that's really lush green growth, but I had a huge amount of whitefly really destroying them, and I lost a lot of my peppers and tomato plants from really squirrels running around and destroying them. This tomato plant needs picking up, and you can see we've got some tomatoes there. That's just fallen down. We've had a lot of really wet weather lately, and could do with tying that up properly anyway, but there we've sort of wedged it in. That'll do well. So tomatoes and herbs and the squirrel cage there. We're getting a lot of suckers coming out from the strawberries. So one, two, sort of three plants coming off there now. And that has dried out a bit this year, but I really haven't watered it much at all. Maybe once every week or two, or sometimes a couple of days a week when it's been really dry, but they need watering a lot more than that, so I need to work out a way of improving that really. We've got our herbs along here. The oregano is just flowering now, and actually I harvested a lot of that in the bottom of the garden. Thought I'd leave it in the pots at the top of the garden to flower, so the bees could get to it. And there's a bee here, if you can see it. There we go. So it's nice to leave some plants to flower. And we've got more tomatoes here, looking really good. Again, I need to sort of stand that up a bit better. There's nothing like homegrown tomatoes in the supermarkets in the UK. The tomatoes you buy just don't taste of anything. I think they're bred for their shelf life. I need to get on top of picking more of this chamomile, but I've been running out of time lately, but you can see just how many flowers it's had. I think that's probably getting towards the end of its flowering. And the lettuce style's been pretty good, but again I've let that dry out. But I've got loads of loads of radish seeds. I can certainly going to save those for next year and maybe have a whole tub planted full of radish seeds, which I'm looking forward to. Here we've got a huge lettuce at the bottom, so that's really found, that's where it goes into the tower, and it's a really big thing, so I'm pretty happy with that. It's a good one to grow for next year. That's obviously found a lot of moisture. We've got some blueberries here, which my partner and my son enjoy picking off. There's a few there to pick yet. So that's the container garden and how it's coming on. And a lot of the herbs have survived really well because they enjoy the dry conditions. Because the pots are so big anyway, they don't really dry out. The olive tree's probably seen better days. And then I'll just take you down, further down to the bottom of the garden and check out what's going on. So as we go down, there's a, camera's darting around, there's a big bay tree there in the corner, and this is like a forest garden border that I'm trying to build up. And here we can see there's lots of herbs and berry bushes, so there's rosemary on the right hand side there, and the light green one in the middle there is a blackcurrant bush and with a bay tree behind it. And there's lavender, lots of oregano. The oregano is the one that's in flower, so that's looking pretty good. And this one, well, I haven't seen this very lately actually, but this one's myrtle with these leaves. So that's looking really good. It's really starting to thrive now. It took quite a long time to establish, but now it's established, it's looking good. This is our plum tree. It's a bit of a biennial thing, meaning that it only really produces once every 2 years. It puts on a bit of a glut one year and then sort of shuts down and recuperates for the next. So that will do well next year. And this apple tree is a bit of a disaster really. It fell over last year. I put it back up and it looked like it had been recovering, but you can see from the angle of the trunk it's trying to fall over again, so I may need to remove that and just replace it with a new tree. And in fact it's never really done much or fruited much, so it might be a good idea to take that out and start again. We'll see. This one is doing much better than before. It's a pear tree. You can see all the pears on it. I'll probably have to take that branch out that's dipping down into the middle of the lawn and give that a bit of a prune. But if we just dip down into the borders, we can see some nasturtiums and some flowering oregano, and down there at the base of the tree we've got some lemon thyme, and we've got some normal thyme in there, and some oregano and a blackcurrant bush just there. And so really trying to maximise all the space at the bottom of the trees. At the bottom of this one is something really interesting. It's rootstock, and rootstock is what you use to make new fruit trees, so I'm just making my own rootstock there. Different types really. There's a MM106 rootstock in there, and some St. Julian C, and actually one of everything really, where I can grow some plums on them and some apples and all sorts really. In that bag we've got some wood chip that's rotting down, and use that as a mulch, and we've got a really nice border here that's just around the paddling pool, so it's been getting lots of water this year, and it's a little row of bay trees, and but beneath the bay trees I do have this one down here is a white strawberry. But just putting it down there to reproduce really. We don't really get many strawberries working at the bottom of the garden because they get stolen by the squirrels. That one is English mace, and we've got some flowering oregano just there, some lemon thyme down there in amongst the weeds, and oh yeah, there's a fennel plant here just there. But a lot of these plants have only just gone in this year, and I did propagate them, so they're real babies. And this is a big patch of golden marjoram, which is looking really good, just spreading really nicely. it's good to have some of these plants to just keep down the weeds, I think, and suppress everything, because you can see from these borders here, half of it is weeds, and the other half is perennial stuff. So we've got things like strawberries, normal strawberries, we've got some chives there, and then just behind it actually this white flower is English mace, a more established plant, probably one that I split from. And here this yellow plant just starting to come out, this yellow flower is fennel. We've got a row of gooseberries against the fence, and over on this side, I'm just starting to establish this side. We've got, for example, down here we've got a nasturtium. It's not really doing anything, and another nasturtium there. I probably planted them quite late on, but if I can find them, there's a couple of new things I planted this year. Yeah, here we go. This is sorrel. It's either sorrel or horseradish. Planted a little patch of sorrel, a little patch of horseradish. I think that one's sorrel. This one's a Jerusalem artichoke. And then here we've got a currant bush that I'm layering from this main one behind it. And that should be ready to move in the autumn. And it will have quite significant roots. So I've checked on a couple already, and they're doing really, really well. Have another look in this border, because we've got quite a few perennial plants. We've got, this is one of my favourite new plants. It's Perennial Leek. Now that's well into flower. Did we try and zoom in actually? You can see it's got lots of little balls around it, and I think those are going to be seeds. And what it does is it's got this really long flower from its main stem, and it just falls over, goes down into the soil, and just plants a whole load of new baby perennial leeks for next year. And we've got a big patch of oregano that's in flower, and this is quite shady now, this bottom area, and I've harvested quite a lot from that already, and I did a video on that if you wanted to see how I harvested it, and soon get through it. Anything I dry and harvest and then blitz up into a nice sort of powdery material goes into everything I cook. And we've got a patch of potatoes there I can dig up, see what's happening. This gooseberry hasn't done very well this year. I'll have to really cut that back and let a lot of new growth come through, I think. Really needs a good prune at least. And yeah, really starting to develop perennial herbs and edible plants down in this bottom section. And if we look up the garden, on the left hand border we've got the food forest and fruit trees that I'm developing, and then at the very top of the garden we've got this fantastic container garden with lots going on. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.